Today, Tim Wu joins the White House, signaling a focus on big tech overreach.
Then, the tech behind Mandalorian, the Unreal Engine, is poised to have a big impact on architecture, automotive, training, and filmmaking. An inside look.
And why Coursera's S1 filing could signal an edtech boom.
I'm Stephen Rosenbaum, and this is Future Forward.
I'm Alexa Scordato. Let's launch.
Hey, Alexa.
Hey, Steve.
So 3 chapters today, and they're all really different, which will be fun. Like, we're going to zip around a little bit. So, and by the way, we are live on Facebook and YouTube and a couple of other places. So you're welcome to dive into the comments, ask questions, tell us we're wrong about stuff. I have to say, I'm in a almost giddy, optimistic mood this morning.
Why is that? Is it because spring is in the air?
Yeah, actually, and we're coming up on like the 1 year anniversary of lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like climbing the walls a little bit.
We're definitely turning the corner, though. I could feel it. More and more people I know are getting vaccinated, and it's starting to feel like we're actually going to get out of this.
And all right. So let's actually start at the White House, because this Tim Wu news, I think, probably flew under radar a little bit. And you were the one that said, wait, we have to pay attention to this. So who is Tim Wu?
Oh my goodness. Tim Wu is just one of those voices in tech who I've been following for years, because he's just always been, this sounds silly, but it's like I've always believed him. He works at Columbia. I forgot what his official title or department is, but he's always very thoughtful about his criticism of the tech industry, and I think how government policy and tech intersect.
So, Biden is hiring 4,000 people or 4 billion people or 4 million, some huge number of people coming into all. So like, why isn't he just like another checkbox, National Economic Council, Tim, why does that end up being a New York Times headline?
Because I think, as we've covered on this show in previous episodes, there's going to be a real, I don't know if reckoning's the right word, but I think this is going to be, in this administration, a moment when big tech is challenged in a new and unprecedented way. You're already sort of seeing the FTC come after Google and Facebook, and there's that discourse, and we've had multiple hearings where legislators are grilling Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg, and nothing has really happened. And I think some of that is because the fluency, the knowledge gap, and the know-how in government has really been missing. And so I think to interject a person like Tim Wu into the fold and really provide sound counsel through the lens of someone who's competent and fluent in policy and tech, I think is potentially a game changer.
One of the things I get frustrated by when I think about how the media covers these things broadly, and I mean the media meaning lots of organizations, is like the status of tech in society is unbelievably complicated, multi-layered, nuanced. So on one hand, there are things about Amazon that you certainly can be concerned about. But on the other hand, Amazon is inventing a new kind of economy that is, the technology was theoretically going to do some version of anyway. And so to look at Amazon or Google or Apple or Facebook or Twitter or any of these big tech players and paint them with either a smiley face or a frowny face misunderstands the complexity of how many pieces of our world they touch.
Right. When you look at, say, antitrust today, it's so much more complex than, say, Microsoft bundling Windows, Internet Explorer on PCs, right? Because it just frankly was a lot more simple. When you look at the economies of, say, Amazon and sort of the horizontal expansion across retail, cloud servers, delivery,
Grocery, medicine.
look, exactly. It's like it really isn't just contained to tech. It's tech and sort of all of the industries that it permeates. And so there's so much more complexity this time around.
So, I mean, that means that Biden's White House needs to both, I'm going to sound simplistic after I just said not to be, but like both rein it in and build a roadmap to the future at the same time.
Right.
And what did it take, 8 years to get the Microsoft antitrust lawsuit to roll through the courts?
Yeah, I think it's going to take time, which is why I think, having thoughtful policy and expertise and really like just having like a clear point of view that then can carry over sort of a multi-year process is necessary.
So does that mean that if you're sitting at Amazon and there's some kind of a FTC action probably rolling down the court, that you've laid out, you've laid out an incredibly long, like how many things can we stall? Like, because anything that changes, right? Like the 4 years from now, change in the White House or not change in the White House, 8 years from now, it just seems like moving slowly benefits companies that don't want to be legislated or face a ruling.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think I was excited about this news, because I thought maybe it would be accelerated.
Yeah, so here's a quote from the Times piece. This is from Elizabeth Warren. Tim has been a longtime antitrust advocate, and he has pushed public officials to break up and rein in big tech.
Yep. So Tim Wu in 2006, that's when he started his tenure as a Columbia Law School professor. And I think, I'm trying to think when he first popped up on my radar. Maybe it was around net neutrality. What about you, Steve? What's your experience been, I don't know, consuming Tim Wu content?
He's been off the radar for me.
Okay.
And I don't know why that is. I mean, the minute I read about him, I realize, I guess I've heard him in the context of antitrust, but in my head, I put him in the checkbox of one of a bunch of really brilliant academics that I follow, not the standout leader that was going to end up in the White House leading this change. That's why
go ahead.
That's why when you waved your hands and said, pay attention to this, I was like, wow, how did I not see this one coming? It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, because he is a sort of thought leader, it's like, because he's an academic, it's like he's so smart. He's never just getting those quippy sound bites and just, rattling off what he feels. All of his commentary is incredibly thoughtful and fact-based. So I think that's why, he's someone who is worth watching.
I also think, there is a certain cynicism out in the universe that says the web is going to be the web, Facebook is going to be Facebook, YouTube is going to be YouTube. They're all just going to continue to let more people publish the lowest common denominator, right? And I'm like, or maybe not. Maybe, at the end of the day, Tristan Harris's, urgent warning and others are going to wake us up, and Tim Wu is going to play a part, and we're going to see not just legislation but changes in behavior. Parents are going to become concerned about their kids unmoderated, unmanaged use of some very dangerous pieces of the internet. We
can look at like the tobacco industry. Once upon a time, Mad Men era, you have sort of the Don Drapers of the world and big marketing budgets promoting smoking. And it wasn't an overnight change, but the fact that you can't really you can't smoke inside any business establishment as far as I know. Like you can't even smoke on Columbia University's campus. Like you literally inside the gates of Columbia cannot smoke. That's changed. And so have consumer preferences and behaviors. Like we are much more aware of the concerns of smoking now than we were 40, 50 years ago.
I just think it's unfair that you can't smoke on airplanes.
What?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. How crazy is that a sealed metal tube had a smoking section?
It's actually still weird to me that there are do not smoke signs on planes. How do you feel? This is random tangent, but how do you feel about the vaping on planes? Does that bother you?
Well, of course. It's disgusting. And
you can't smell it though, right? I've never seen anyone do it, but
here's the difference. Smoking at a moment in time when the media embraced it, at least looked cool. It made good cinematic images. Vaping, you just look stupid.
Okay.
Like there's nothing cool about
do not
smoking. Well, I mean, or if you vape, then come hang out with me and I'll tell you look stupid. All right. So Tim, we think it's going to be important. We also think, but the reason we pulled this up to the top of the show was it also signals the Biden administration clearly leaning into, whatever breaking up big tech means.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I think we follow this one closely because it's exciting and interesting. And Biden is laser beam focused on these 100 days. I think rightly so. I think he knows he's got a running head start where he can get a lot done before things get bogged down in midterms and the election and whatever. And it's interesting that he put the COVID relief bill in first position where it belonged, and now he's putting infrastructure as the second position.
Infrastructure encompassing what?
Infrastructure spending is the next big Biden initiative, which is roads and bridges, internet, electrical grid. Because he's kind of saying to the Republicans, yeah, come on, you be against this,
right?
Like nothing would make me happier than you voting against rebuilding crumbling American infrastructure.
I mean, you look at what just happened in Texas, right, where Americans did not have access to heating, and you have people in Mississippi who don't have access to water, and you have millions of school-aged children in Walmart parking lots trying to access the internet. It's a good.
But they don't have to wear masks, so there is that.
Sometimes I think I don't understand the country we live in, but
well, I'm going to a mask burning party this weekend.
Okay.
I'm not. I am not. All right.
While smoking, while vaping.
Yeah. All right. So let's go on to chapter 2, because chapter 2 is lighthearted and cool and different. So you're forgiven if you find what's going on with Unreal Engine a little confusing, because the truth of the matter is so much is going on with Unreal Engine.
Okay.
So just for
who don't know what that is, what is
there's a company called Epic, or known Epic Games, which is now Epic. And Epic has a platform called Unreal Engine, which is a software platform. And it started as a game environment. But it has very quickly, in the last, at least in terms of my consciousness, in the last year, evolved into being this three-dimensional virtual platform that touches a wide array of industries. And well, there's a couple of things. So let's just, while we're talking, I'll play a little bit of a video, because I think that will. Where is it? This is a good one. Okay. So Unreal Engine, among other things, is the technology behind the production of The Mandalorian. And let me geek out for a second on why this matters. It used to be with these, high production value films, you would have actors perform on a green screen.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would go into post and you would spend months and months creating these dimensional worlds. And I mean, just to be blunt, I've been in the film business a long time. It was kind of a shit show. It was a pieced together system where actors had to react to creatures and spaces that hadn't been built yet.
Yeah.
And then post-production had to adjust it because the actors' reactions didn't quite make sense. It worked. So Mandalorian, and there were a couple of others, but Mandalorian in particular was the first production that built this enormous LED stage and took the Unreal Engine game engine and put three-dimensional objects and sets around the actors and then had them literally perform in virtual environments that they could see.
So cool.
I'm
trying to think, like, I guess if you've been to, I don't know, like a planetarium or something, it's probably more immersive than that. But the idea that you're surrounded 360 with something visual that you can feel like you're actually inside of instead of standing in front of. Is that right?
Yeah. And so the woman whose picture's up on the screen, Connie Kennedy, is leading the LA lab for Epic Unreal Engine. And I've spoken to her twice, and she's going to be doing a 1-hour presentation with us at the Media Lab on Wednesday, which we'll talk about in a second. She's amazing. And the thing that she says that I love is two things that I think will matter to our listeners. One, she says, what we're really doing is building a world in which we can collaborate. So all of a sudden, the set designer and the visual effects people and the actors and the director are all on the same stage looking at the same finished work in real time.
Yep.
It's almost like saying the human actor is inside a game environment and they're recording that on camera in real time.
So I don't really know a lot about this space, and I'm wondering, this sounds, for me at least, a lot more, I don't know, it sounds like a lot cooler than like wearing a headset. Like, do you think this is the type of technology that's just going to actually leapfrog VR being like a consumer gadget? Like, will people's living rooms one day just sort of be these immersive Unreal Engine powered experiences?
I hadn't thought of that, but so it reminds me of, there's a scene in Fahrenheit 451, which is very much like that, where you're inside, but if you talk to young people, younger than either you or I, they prefer immersive, interactive stories to flat one-dimensional stories. They want to be in the story. They don't want to have the story presented to them. So, but here's the thing about Unreal and why I think, this is important for us and for our audience. That not only is it changing film and television, but it's also rapidly being used for aeronautic design, car design. And here's the one takeaway that all of our listeners should hear. You can download Unreal Engine for free.
So cool.
So students all over the world are now making films in Unreal Engine. And we're going to show on Wednesday at the Media Lab a reel of student work that will just blow you away. Just absolutely spectacular. So here, let me talk about the event for a second. This is an event that we're doing called Story Technology plus Storytelling, Engaging the Immersive Future. It's this coming Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. But you're welcome to, if you sign up and get a ticket, you're welcome to show up at any time, leave at any time. It is a mix of panels, keynote addresses, all of it's live, all of it's interactive. You can ask questions, you can raise your hand, you can participate. It is being built on a brand new environment that the Media Lab has been building for a month, called the Exploratorium. And it will be a very different kind of digital event. It's just, I'm super excited about it.
Awesome. So where do you go to register, Steve?
We have a ticket on Eventbrite. It's almost sold out because we have some space limitations, which is interesting. I'll put it in the show notes, but let me just also read it out for people that want to hear it on the. Where is it? Hold on one second.
So it's Wednesday, March 10th, 10
Yep,
to
10
3.
a.m. And the link to register is immersivefuture.eventbrite.com. And
Immersive future.
here, I'll can I just put it on? I don't know if I can. I don't know if there's a way to do that. No.
You can
In any
low
case.
start it, I think. Maybe.
Okay. I'll put it here. Oh, yeah. Of course. I'll create a banner. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to do this.
Listeners who don't know what's going on right now, Steve has like a whole tool set production studio where he can just put things on the screen.
As I've done. There we go.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it up for a little bit. So just very, very, very quickly to run down the run. So we start at 10 a.m. with a panel that is titled BLM, Immersive Film and Activism, that is being moderated by the Media Lab's amazing Abram Maldonado and has a great rundown of speakers. Then at 11 a.m., Evan Shapiro is going to talk about how to navigate the media wars and save your film career. He's great, and he's got a map he's going to show. Then we've got Connie Kennedy at noon. Then we go into these breakout rooms where people can meet each other, communicate. It's basically little tiny. So if we've 900 people, we're breaking it up into little rooms so that you'll be with 4 or 5 other people. So imagine the logistics of having enough little rooms for 900 people. And then we go into 2 big demonstration sessions in which we're going to show immersive projects that have never been seen before that are amazing. And I've been meeting with all of the presenters, and it's just fantastic. So if I sound a little giddy with excitement, it's because here's some of the these are like, I mean, just really, really cool, cutting edge.
So fun.
Yeah. And we're doing it free. We debated whether to charge for a ticket, and we said, no, we don't think so. We think people want to be able to come and enjoy. So it's a Media Lab day-long event, and then we're going to all collapse.
You know what this makes me think of? When the pandemic started, because we are coming up on like a year now, you were just starting to explore different streaming technologies, how to work with your team remotely. I would love in a future episode to sort of hear what you've learned in a year of working remotely and producing events. And maybe you get your pals from OYA or something to come on the show.
Well, I mean, here's the thing I know, and it's been really interesting. In the olden days of conferences, people sat in the audience, the speakers got on the stage, they shared their knowledge and wisdom, and then there was a microphone they'd put in the center aisle, and you would line up, and they would call on a couple of speakers. But it was a fairly linear and authoritarian way to manage conversation. On this event, and using OYA as the platform, people will be able to chat, they'll be able to post things, they'll be able to respond. It's a little bit more cacophonous, but I think that's really the world we now live in. So I'd be happy to talk about it. I won't know if Wednesday's a success or not until after we get through Wednesday. So, but meanwhile, if you haven't signed up and you're listening, please do. We'd love to have you. Even if you come for an hour and then duck out, that's fine. Okay. And by the way, there's no embarrassing, like, I hate virtual events where if you leave, people notice you leave.
Yeah.
Like Zoom calls where you drop off and then people go, hey, where did Steve go? It's like, well, yeah, it was boring. Sorry. This is what we're doing is hopefully the anti-Zoom. So,
yep.
All right. So let's move on to our last chapter of the show. So the education space really well. Why is the Coursera S1 important?
So Coursera, for a long time, not a long time, but for the last few years, I've wondered, are they ever going to like morph into a real business. Because, in 2012, there was an article like the year of the MOOCs. MOOCs massively open online courses, and there was like edX, Udacity, Coursera, and Khan Academy. And there's this whole notion that like a more open curriculum and course-based style of learning was really going to be the future of learning. And so I think what's interesting is now that Coursera is sort of reaching this public milestone as a business, is like, look at what the actual business is. It's employment partners, so partners like Amazon who are using Coursera to sort of upskill workers. And it's actually closer to a 2U or OPM, online program manager type model, where Coursera is partnering with schools and universities to actually take existing university IP and then offer it to students in a non-degree form, so like certificates. And it's just interesting to me that that's sort of like what the story is of the business. Yes, you can still, as a student, go to Coursera, take classes free or paid, but the explosion of growth over the last year, which is, I think, really allowed this IPO to take place, is as a result of the universities, by necessity, having to go online. So like, where originally was like this disruptor on the outside, the business of Coursera and the IPO story is very much anchored in institutions and business partners, like B2B.
Is Coursera making money?
They actually grew 59% in 2020 and made $293.5 million. However, they lost $66 million, which went up from 46.7 in 2019. So it's almost like in order to make money, they spent a lot more money in 2020.
So if I were channeling my inner Scott Galloway, Professor G, I would say, if I were looking at that stock, my immediate question would be, everyone was locked in their apartment for a year. Everybody signed up for courses to try and not be bored to death. Does that just fall off a cliff once, like how many things go back to in person? No, we're not going to offer that digitally. We are, but it would be a hard time for me to be excited about. I mean, I think online learning is important and interesting. And I do know from my university context that the application numbers are massively up, shockingly up. I mean, everybody who was sitting at home said, hey, I'll get a degree while I'm waiting for the world. But the question is, are you waiting for the world to get kind of back to normal? And then I don't know.
It's interesting. If you read the S1 filing, which
you did
on a Friday, because that's my life. One of the risks that they outline is actually the negative perception of for-profit learning and negative discourse around OPMs. And so I actually just found that fascinating because, and again, like as an industry, Coursera exiting in this way is it's just creating more competition in a market that used to really only have, one or two players in it. 2U a few years ago bought a company called Get Smarter, and all Get Smarter does is provide online courses with leading universities around the world. And so Coursera is actually a direct competitor to that. And so in terms of the market itself, okay, this solidifies, I think, the business of online learning. And to take that a step further, I think it also signals the very real story that universities can't do it alone. Universities are always going to have to find a partner to figure out how to navigate the delivery of online, what to do with their content, how to evolve it, how to manage relationships with their students, how to manage the data, how to be more savvy recruiters and sort of level up their admissions endeavors. So when you just look at the business of higher ed, Coursera is just, I think, it's not necessarily period at the end of the sentence, but it's definitely just like solidifying that this is here to stay. I don't think it's a pandemic thing.
So let's keep an eye out for when there's an actual date on the calendar, because it could be any time, right? I mean, the S1 doesn't have a date. Yeah. All right. This is exciting. All right. Well, thank you. I'm glad one of us read the S1. I'm glad it wasn't me.
We have Reddit coming up. I think if you're into gaming and platforms and user created worlds, Roblox is coming up this week, which is one that I'm following. So yeah.
Have an excellent week. Enjoy the warm weather, and we'll be back.
See you next Sunday.
Bye.